Welcome to part 2 of the castles on the Rhine and Moselle rivers.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Richard Bravo, and I'm here with Zygmunt Stefanski today to talk about Moselle River. So then, as we make our way now over to the Moselle River, this is a beautiful river. Really, it's you know, if you're into wines, like your Riesling wine, this is an area that you definitely want to experience that. It's a tributary of the Rhone River, approximately 339 miles long. It flows through 3 countries, France, Luxembourg, and then of course Germany here. But this is just a beautiful area to travel to. And what I'd love to talk about with this particular picture here, if you haven't taken a river cruise, you know, the dinners and the food on board is absolutely amazing. One of the experiences that we offer with Ama Waterways is the chef's table dining experience. It's a 6-course meal. There's 3 to 4 different wine pairings with it, you know, just an amazing experience. But to picture yourself there, having that amazing meal as you're traveling through this area, maybe it's getting close to sunset already, you know, you're watching these steep hillside vineyards pass by, you know, maybe your cruise manager is giving some narration a little bit later in the evening as you're passing by some of these things, seeing these church steeples just like this off to the side. There is just nothing that you can describe it with. You know, they're just those moments that you have to be a part of and really just treasure. But an amazing river to travel in, and this is probably one of the most photographed areas of the Moselle River. Mainz, Germany, of course, is another stop along the way. You know, known for its old town, half-timbered houses, which you know, the half-timbered houses, you've seen some of the other pictures, but it's really just that more roughly hewn cut timber that they basically don't end up putting covering outside. They just kind of fill in the sides. And really, when they started doing this back in 16th, 17th century, it was really just more than anything, just for like a nice look and some decoration. But built nice and sturdy, and you get to witness a lot of those also. Another stop here in Mainz that we get to include is the St. Stephen's Church, and where Marc Chagall actually crafted these beautiful stained glass windows. You know, so Marc Chagall, if you're not familiar with it, he was a Russian French artist, early modernist also, but he did a number of paintings and drawings. He did book illustrations, a number of other things that he did, but stained glass was among those, and these were actually designed by him also, so you get to see that when you step into St. Stephen's Church. And then just whether small waterways inside our tip to the vineyard peaches. This is something that the area is really well known for, and these are actually available in springtime when they bloom, but this is the only area that you can buy this particular fruit along the Moselle area too. So if you're thinking of traveling and this might be something important to you, definitely look to plan your trip around springtime here. And then I think you want to share a few tidbits on this also, Zygmunt?
Yeah, just a little bit. Cochem is a town that's medieval. It has an octagonal tower that was built in, I think it was 1400s or 1300s, but it was redone in Neo-Renaissance style when it was restored in the 19th century after a couple of wars. And one interesting thing about it, during the communist times, the German Federal Bank, what they did is they set up a secret currency exchange in one of these buildings underground, and it had a bunker that between 1964 and 1988, they held 15 billion Deutschmarks because they were afraid that there's going to be inflation, hyperinflation, and so they needed to store money, which was very, very interesting. You can still go see it when you're over in the town. There's a really interesting castle called the Reichsburg Castle. I think it's in the next slide. And that castle overlooks Cochem, and it's Richard, you might want to add a little bit more. This is you can go, we have hiking tours over there, bicycle tours over there. It's a really, really exciting little town.
We do, and this is actually offered as one of the tour options here too. A walk-in tour, we get to take you up to Reichsburg Castle. We get to tour some of the different rooms and, you know, enjoy the beautiful inner courtyard area. I believe this castle dates back to about 1000. So this one is quite old in the area, but you know, being up there in this view, just looking down in the Moselle Valley is just going to be one of those things you'll certainly remember. But another highlight certainly of the Rhine. We also offer because they're known for their mustard. Cochem is also known for their mustard, and we actually take our guests on a mustard tour of one of the most popular ones in the area. I can't pronounce the name properly, so I'm going to go ahead and not say it, but we get to go in, we get to enjoy some tasting. There's a number of different varieties. We also get to go into the making room to see how they produce this. And of course, you're able to buy some things also before you leave too. So there's nothing like when you can actually buy some of the things that you've got to witness them making it and see how it's packaged, and you get to hear the story and the history of that place also. So those things just really make it a bit more of an enriching experience. And then the Moselle vineyards. Again, I mentioned earlier too, if you're into your wines and into some of your Rieslings especially, this is the area that you want to go to taste some of these wines. Some of the best in the world in terms of Rieslings. And one thing that I think is a bit of a misconception, unless you're really into your wines, and I just found this out not too long ago, I was kind of under that impression, like a lot of people, I think that Rieslings are very often going to be sweet. And I think that's something that in the States very often we've kind of come to know. But really, where they're produced over here, it's in upwards of about like 70+% are going to be bone dry. You certainly have some that are going to be a little bit, semi-dry, and you have some that are going to be more on the sweet side, but they have a very distinct taste from this area, high acidity, but really balanced properly with a nice level of sweetness. Again, think about the celebration of wine themed departures that I mentioned. With those, we bring along an American VIP wine host, right? So he knows your palates from the wines you taste in America, but he's also very experienced with all the wines really from around the world. So they're giving different history lessons of the old world wines versus the new world wines and how those vary, taking you on different excursions to centuries old estates, doing different wine pairings and wine tasting. So I just wanted to mention that because that really just enhances the experiences of traveling through here. And again, I just really want to include this beautiful shot again of the wine that you can taste from the area and the grapes. And, visiting some of these estates and being able to hear directly from the vineyards, for the owners of these vineyards. Those are the type of tours that we take you on too as we're going through these areas. So just an amazing experience. Zygmunt, Trier.
This is Trier, Germany, and this is actually the oldest city in Germany. It's right at the head of the Moselle River, near the Luxembourg border. So it was Augustus that founded in 15 BC. So that was a long time ago. It had a 4-mile long wall, 4 big gates, and 47 defense towers. This was one of the favorite place of Roman emperors for a while. Emperor Constantine used this town as a capital when his empire was kind of fading. What you need to do is make sure you visit these sites. Now, this, for example, is, I can't pronounce it correctly, but it's KAISERTHERMAN Imperial Bath. These baths are just absolutely amazing of the kind of things they were able to build. On the top, you really don't see much, but you need to go underneath. You go through the canals underneath, you see this is the 3rd largest bath complex in the world. And the Romans built it. When you go underneath, you'll be amazed of what they could do. This has passages, and they're in a great state of preservation. Don't be afraid to go under there. What you saw before was there was a city's cathedral. I don't know if it's there. And the cathedral is also the oldest in Germany. It goes back to Roman times. The Saint Helena, which I believe was the mother of Emperor Constantine, she build a part of the palace and let the church build a part of her domain right there in year 326. I think I confused it enough. So it's yours, Richard.
That was great. That was great. So again, we really just touched upon some of the highlights. Again, we would love to be able to answer some more questions. Zygmunt in particular, if you have anything that you want to delve a little bit deeper into, reach out to him. But I hope you'll see that this area is just, it's rich with history and culture and traditions, so lots to see in the area. Just to kind of
Richard, I forgot to say something that the St. Helena Cathedral there, what it also has is supposedly the Holy Robe of Christ, found by St. Helena on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem, and a holy nail thought to be from the crucifixion. Now, I don't know if it's true, but that's what they're claiming. There is a great archaeological museum too in the town that you should visit.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. And so just to round some things out here, just want to share, we actually had 2 new ships that we've built. Well, actually, the Sienna, which is actually due out the end of this year. Still, we'll see if she'll be able to sail as planned, but she's still due to come out later this year. And then we also have the Lucia, which is set to be out next year. So 2 beautiful new ships that we're adding to our family of vessels that we're excited to have, and hopefully we can welcome our guests back sometime very soon. But with this leads me to this next slide also. You know, we've been staying on top of everything, as you can imagine. I mean, we are so anxious to get back. We've been remaining hopeful and optimistic, and you know, we're having to wait for the right time and for Europe to open up. But we are ready. Some really exciting news that I do have to share is that we've been able to get a lot of things in place in terms of safety and hygiene for all of our guests, because we have some great partnerships with a number of European cruise lines, river cruise lines, that have been sailing since June 1st. In fact, there's approximately 9 different European river cruise lines that have been sailing for some time now. So we've been able to learn a lot of different things from them. We put together, you know, based on their feedback, you know, all those things that we needed to be able to get our guests back on board. And just about coming up on 3 weeks ago now, there was a German company that actually chartered our Ama Christina, which is this particular interior of this ship right here. So the Ama Christina is actually the only American river cruise line at this very point that is sailing in European rivers. She's sailing exclusively on the Danube right now, exclusively for German guests. But again, we're able to start putting all these things into practice, from, you know, the masks on board to the hand sanitizing. We've also put up some glass windows in the lounge area between the different sitting areas. So if you've had a chance to go out and enjoy, you know, dining at a restaurant anytime in the last several weeks or, you know, month when they opened up, you'll know that when you walk in there, you have to wear your mask when you're walking in. Anytime you have to get up, use a restroom, or when you're leaving again, you have to wear your masks. But when you get seated, you can take off the masks, and that's kind of the same concept that we have on board also. So still going to be an amazing experience for our guests, and everyone will be kept safe. That, of course, is our main goal.
And a couple of things, I'd like to mention one other thing, that there are a number of river cruises, and there's some mass market cruises which have 190, 200 people on a same size ship as Ama has, only 120 or 130, and now it's even fewer. So one of the advantages of Ama is that, and I've been on Viking, I've been on a number of others, that it is not crowded at all. When you squeeze 190 people on a Viking in the same space that you only put 120, 130 people on Ama, that makes a big, big difference. Every cabin is facing the river. You don't have any inside cabins. You have French balconies. It's really beautiful. Every single day when the ship stops or the boat stops, it stops usually near the middle of town. So you just open the door and there it is. You don't have to take a ferry, or you don't have to go very far to be right where you want to be.
That's right. That's right. You know, if I could just add briefly to that also, you know, one reason you would probably want to consider Ama Waterways is as good as some of our competitors out there, right? I certainly wouldn't want to badmouth anybody. They've got some wonderful products, but there are some things that truly distinguish Ama Waterways. You know, the fact that we include, like I mentioned, 4 up to 5 different shore excursions at every stop. We're not going to just give you that complimentary city tour and then charge you for the tour that you really want to do. You know, there's the wines and the premium wines that we talked about earlier, but even going beyond that, you know, if you lead an active, healthy lifestyle, and maybe you go to the gym regularly, or you like to go out cycling regularly, we have a gym on board every one of our ships. We've got a dedicated fitness instructor on board every one of our ships that's leading morning Pilates or morning yoga. We've got the bicycles that we shared earlier. We've got pools on majority of our ships, you know, and then of course, going back to what Zygmunt just mentioned, a lot more personal space. One thing that has already been put out as a rule is that none of the river cruise ships, when they go back to sailing, can have any more than 100 guests. So regardless of the size of the ship, regardless of what maximum occupancy can be, 100 is going to be the absolute limit. So the other thing to keep in mind with that, until or if that is ever reversed, is that we are actually seeing a lot of bookings into next year. I was just sharing separately with Zygmunt that the month of June last month was actually the heaviest booking month in the history of our company. We just celebrated our 18-year anniversary on July 5th of this year. So July 1st of this year, I'm sorry. So, that a number of those, just to be completely transparent, a number of those were rebookings, people that were on a sailing that maybe got suspended, but a large portion were completely new bookings. So we're seeing a lot of our spring sailings start to fill up. We're seeing people book well into 2022 also. So if there's any interest and you want to look ahead and look at some special promotions, reach out to Zygmunt. Otherwise, again, this is to be informational, educational. Hopefully you're learning some things and able to make some plans of when you can travel as far as where you want to move.
One quick note is AMA Waterways is a California company with headquarters in California, and it's totally debt-free, I found out. And even people like Rothschilds are part owners or investors in it.
That's right. Hoosier family amongst some others too. That's a really good point. But is there anything you might want to add also, Zygmunt, at this time?
Well, don't forget, if you want to see a sample itinerary, please go to rivercruisecenter.com, go to this particular webinar, and right on the bottom of the description of the webinar, just click on that, and you can print out this particular itinerary. I want to thank everyone for taking your time out of a busy day, probably lunch or dinner that you had or something else. Hopefully you were sitting there with a glass of wine or a glass of beer listening to Richard. You don't have to listen to me, he's much better, but I want to thank you very much.
Zygmunt, thank you so much. It was great to really tag team with you. Thanks again for joining us, everybody, and we hope to have you join us again next week. But have a great evening, be safe, and we'll talk soon.